Let's talk about all the latest woke culture, cancel culture and nonsense that's been going on with my next guest, Darren Grimes, Conservative commentator and founder of Reasoned UK. Good morning to you, Darren.
Morning, Julia.
Do you know what? I don't know where to start because we booked you on to talk about Dominic Raab and the all the upset of what he said yesterday. Something that actually I could see the vast majority of people agreed with what he'd said in terms of he wouldn't take the knee, but was very respectful about people doing it. And then he made a gaffe about you thought it had originally come from Game of Thrones. That was the inspiration originally. And of course, the left picked up on that. But since then, we've had, forget the statues being toppled, Winston Churchill defaced, and all of this. We've now got the Bank of England and the Church of England apologising for their historic slavery links. We've got England Rugby calling on fans to, when having a review about singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot because it was a slavery song. Where does it all stop, Darren?
Well, first of all, Julia, I think I should congratulate your show because once again, it is your show that got that Raab interview and is at the forefront of debate and speech in this country. But I think we've got to actually, where does this end? That's what I want to know. Yesterday, you were tweeting and I was tweeting about Aladdin. Aladdin's been censored. I mean, this is utter madness.
This was a Sky listing for Aladdin, the children's film, and it basically was said, this has inappropriate and offensive, scenes and things because it represents a different time and different views. But does it need to be stated to a child's film?
Well, exactly. I don't think it does at all. And I think this is just going to lead to more calls for self-censorship and people will just be absolutely anxious, nervous wrecks by the time our politically correct, censorious, woke master generals are finished. But I think we've got to look at Dom Raab in particular, right, and discuss when did it become a display of submissiveness was a prerequisite of office in the United Kingdom. I actually find it quite a sickening suggestion, Julia, and I'll explain why. The idea that you have to bend your knee to apologise for your white privilege in a show of solidarity, I think is utterly ridiculous. For events, let's be clear, events that took place in the 19th century, the suggestion is that an entire ethnic group in Britain is also responsible for what happened to George Floyd, which was obviously absolutely disgusting and despicable. But we don't need to say that. Everyone thinks that. Everyone in this country believes that.
Yeah, exactly. I do wonder about your white privilege, Darren, as a son of a single mother growing up on a council estate in Newcastle. I mean, you must have been enjoying some fabulous white privilege over the years.
Well, do you know what? I look at my two brothers, both without their dads, both without jobs because of the COVID emergency, both in and out of precarious work, both the son of grandson of a minor rather. And I just look at them and I think, where's your white privilege? Where is your privilege in the world? We just need to talk about genuine inequalities. And I think that's what these leftists should actually be focusing on. What about getting our kids back to school, Julia?
Well, and of course, it's the most disadvantaged kids who are missing out the most. My kid's doing online lessons in half an hour. She'll be fine. It's the most disadvantaged kids, whether they're black or white, Asian or whatever. They're the ones who are missing out and doing the worst.
Exactly. And there's loads of evidence that suggests that the pandemic has hit ethnic minorities more than most, especially the lockdown. And if it continues in its present form, it's going to hit them harder still in terms of lost jobs.
But then why is this woke culture, the left culture, why is it focusing so much on this? I mean, look, taking down a statue at Oriel College in Oxford. Okay, I walked past that statue for 3 years. No one ever mentioned it. It wasn't an issue. No, I don't think anyone even knew it was there, frankly. No one cared. People just got on with their lives. But the Church of England apologising, the Bank of England apologising, England Rugby being worried about this song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. I'd always known that was a slave song. That's what's so beautiful about it. But it was written by someone who was a freed slave. It's not a song celebrating slavery, but it's a beautiful, poignant song. And yeah, there are some weird songs that we have which we use to celebrate key moments. And often you think, well, that's a strange song to associate. Remember Live Aid, Who's Going to Drive You Home is the song associated with that. What a bizarre song to have chosen about people dying in Ethiopia from starvation. And yet certain songs have poignancy. But this idea that to sing a song, if you're white British, to sing a song about rugby, at the rugby, which was written by a freed slave, that somehow that's a cultural appropriation and offensive. I find that difficult to grasp.
I think there are 2 points. One, I think it's worth saying, right, that this country is home to many races and religions and is one of the most open and tolerant on planet Earth.
Yeah.
We need our politicians to actually start saying that. We enjoy world-class race relations in this country, and long may it continue. But I think it's because, Julia, this movement has been captured by some of the most extreme left pockets in our country. It's enough to make Jezza Corbyn blush, man. But I think if we look at the aims of, I think the laudable, it's a very laudable slogan, Black Lives Matter. Who can argue with that? But then you look at the aims of them. The £1 million Black Lives Matter UK fundraiser says it seeks to dismantle imperialism. What imperialism? Capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy, and the state. And then goes on to talk about strategies for the abolition of the police. This is an extreme left movement. I think the likes of the Church of England and the Bank of England are seeking just a bit of woke capital. That's what they're looking for.
But it is hard. No, but it's one thing about trying to sort of just do a little bit of virtue signaling and feeling good about yourself. I don't think that is what's happening right now. What I think is happening right now is fear. I think that there are just millions of people right now absolutely terrified of speaking their minds, terrified of businesses, terrified of being accused of racism. And some of those placards we saw at Black Lives Matter marches, silence is violence. It's not. It's not. And there was an article the other day saying not being racist isn't enough. Isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I thought that was the aim, just not being racist. I thought that was what we were trying to achieve. And it seems like nothing is good enough. And then it's interesting. Let's bring in very briefly the issue of Dominic Raab, and we had everyone talking about that video yesterday and what he had to say. But the vast majority of people were commenting on the substance, which was he was very respectful of people taking the knee. He got the wrong beginnings of it. He didn't. I'm assuming you know about Colin Kaepernick, the American football player, but I think he thought it was inspired by Game of Thrones. He's quite wrong about that, but most people were going with the substance, which was that he wouldn't take the knee, but he respects people who do, and he doesn't view it in the same way as other people. But the outrage from the left on that, as if you're not even allowed to have a different opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's white silence is violence was one of the placards that I saw. But I mean, it's this assumption that an entire ethnic group should be apologising for what has happened over 3,000 miles away in the United States of America. It is patently ridiculous. And actually, I don't think there is anything more racist than suggesting that an entire ethnic group is responsible for police brutality in the United States of America, especially those found in Britain. We do not have the same problems with police brutality in this country, and I think Dominic Raab was right to reject it. Absolutely.
Just pointing out actually that just been told to me that the Swing Low Sweet Chariot was very first sung at the rugby to Martin Offiah, the rugby star, nickname Chariots. That's why people started singing the song. It's just about the word. There just doesn't have to be any deeper meaning to some things. I just don't understand the need for people. Again, genuinely, if you're taking offence at this stuff, you ain't got enough real problems in your life. Simple as that.